建筑关系组建지난 방송 장비 좀 보초기 고발 통조를 무시해서 그자 뭐 땅에 토하네 엔타링 뭐라서 베이지 리숑기 투데 기제름들라 페비 나바도 사마로라 닝 타반에 쯤에 다시들 쉬어 근데 더 뒤에 까만나 마도요 말했어 이것도 제가 뒤즈기 쟁기다 벽에 도도 뭔지 쉬어먹어지 드린 게 지름데 또 먼저 벽에 도모마이 비기 제너럴 다 쳐다 리숑 대주 모저다 지 그래서 참자기 체도 네 이제 인도산에 인기에 도도 시로시에스니다 제가 나왔나 신들이 인기에 도도 네 지카지지 슈니 So welcome everyone, or as we can say in Tibetan, Tashidile. I'm very happy to join everyone here for the Tibet Fest. A great opportunity for all of us to see, to hear, to celebrate our rich living culture of Tibet, the land of snows. The Tibetan Plateau is a vast land that encompasses 3 regions of Uzang, Dodo, and Dome, and each with their own different districts, each with their own unique style of cuisine, dresses, dances, songs, and dialects, customs, and so on. All of them have come together here in Seattle to showcase our rich culture. But, no matter which part of Tibet it is, the most important aspect for all of us is the same, and always has been the same, which is how strongly, how passionately we value the pursuit of human happiness, peace, freedom, and knowledge through our ancient spiritual tradition, and which we call Dharma. And not only this, I believe the 30th Tibet, Fest, we're also calling this year the Year of Compassion in honor of the 90th birthday last month of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the greatest living example of our, compassionate Dharma tradition. Every Tibetan feels immense gratitude to His Holiness for being the rock that we have always depended on, the beacon showing us the way through the hardest times, the guide giving us all hope for a better world. So that makes this year's Tibet Fest extra special, extra auspicious. And I feel I should say something about this sacred context that His Holiness embodies so brilliantly. See, we trace the origins of this Dharma tradition to India, all the way back to the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. Even predating the Buddha, it is in India that the tradition, of religious harmony, of dynamic non-violence, of contemplative practices for developing empathy, and much of what we call the inner sciences developed. We say India is the guru and Tibet is the disciple. But over the centuries, generations of invasion and colonialism saw the decline of institutions in India, like the great Nalanda University, where the inner sciences flourished. Tibet then became the place where that preserved so much of this tradition. And so over time, the disciple became the guru. And Tibet became a culture in which the cultivation of wisdom and compassion became it is the bedrock of education, of child rearing, of social cohesion. Tibet though is Tibet. It's not Shangri-La. We've had our fair share of challenges over time. It's a harsh, mountainous environment, the roof of the world. And even though most of our history is about amazing Buddhist saints and building huge centers of learning and peacemaking, but in our history still has some battles, some wars, some political intrigue that would make for a pretty fascinating Netflix series, I'm sure. However, what has kept us together? What has kept our culture alive all this time in such time-tested unity, solidarity, and strength is our common bond in Dharma, our spiritual culture. In the middle of the 20th century, our culture, our whole way of life faced the biggest challenge in our history, with over 250,000 Tibetans forced into exile in 1 year, and subsequent, thousands of us displaced in the years that followed, as our religion, as our language, our freedom, all of it came under threat like never before in our homeland. Fortunately, however, we found our new homes in India and other host nations, including right here in Washington State, where we can speak our language, where we can practice our religion, where we can enjoy and celebrate, and share our culture in total freedom. All thanks to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the vital support of the American people. So, in other words, it's not just about momos, steamed dumplings and dresses and dances and so on, but it's about everything about being Tibetan without censure, without apology. And we can be proud to be Tibetan because we can be proud to be free. And because of this, of our rich Buddhist tradition, we want to use that freedom. We want to use our freedom together to preserve our knowledge, our compassionate culture, our peacemaking skills, and put them to use to help our world. So, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. Thank you all for being part of Tibet Fest and sharing our celebration of the indomitable Tibetan spirit. With your support, your solidarity, the spirit of Tibet will never die and always keep shining stronger and stronger. So thank you all. Tushe.
Hello, good morning and Tashi Dalek everyone. Thank you, Heidi, for reminding us about this land. And I would like to acknowledge the indigenous community and also pay respects to the spirits of the land. And His Eminence, Avikrita Rinpoche, has done such a great job at describing the essence of Tibetan Buddhist culture. I'm not sure how much justice I can do, but I'll do my best. It's so good to be here in Seattle. Tibet Fest is something the Tibetan community always used to look forward to. I used to live in Seattle before I moved in early 2002 to Washington, D.C. to take over my current responsibility at the Office of Tibet. People are wondering why I'm wearing this cool shade. I just had eye surgery on my right eye, and the doctors advised me to wear this, so you'll understand why I'm not keeping eye contact with you all. Okay, on behalf of Office of Tibet, I would like to extend my warm greetings to all, and I would also like to take this opportunity to express our deep appreciation to the Seattle Center, Tibetan Association of Washington, and all the volunteers for organizing yet another wonderful Tibet Fest. As you all may know, the United States and Tibet shares a special relationship that's rooted in American fundamental values and spans decades of bipartisan support, highlighted by conferring of His Holiness the Dalai Lama with the Congressional Gold Medal in 2007, and the United States Congress passing 4 laws in Tibet. The most recent being the 2024 promoting a resolution to the China-Tibet Dispute Act that became the law of the land last July. So as His Holiness always reminds us, people who support Tibet and the Tibetan people are not pro-Tibet or anti-China. They're basically pro-justice, pro-truth. And we Tibetans will always remain grateful to the United States government and its people for its support. Now, as Rinpoche mentioned, we Tibetans just recently celebrated His Holiness' birthday. This is a way for the Tibetan community to reflect with gratitude His Holiness' lifelong dedication towards creating a more peaceful world. And as Rinpoche mentioned, the Central Tibetan Administration has officially designated His Holiness' 90th year as the Year of Compassion. And the United States Congress introduced, and the Senate recently unanimously passed a resolution commemorating His Holiness' birthday, July 6th, as Day of Compassion. This celebration, I would argue, matters not because it's about Dalai Lama, but it's about sharing with the rest of the world his key messages of oneness of humanity, compassion, non-violence, and interdependence, something we all will agree is direly needed in today's world, which as we speak is ridden with ongoing violent conflicts, mostly all man-made. And for the Tibetan peoples, despite over more than 6 decades of exile, occupation, and the ongoing onslaught on their very way of life inside Tibet, the Tibetan people's spirit and determination has never wavered. It remains ever stronger. And this is largely due to the visionary leadership of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who has shown the Tibetan people a path of dignity and resilience. He has shown us that resistance is not only possible, it can be peaceful and sustainable. And under his leadership, the Tibetan people have not only survived, they have most importantly retained the moral clarity of their resistance or struggle. And this struggle was never against the Chinese people or the Chinese society. It was against the actions and policies of a repressive regime. And His Holiness has shown us how to resist, not out of revenge, but out of responsibility for the shared dignity of all people, including our Chinese brothers and sisters. So here I would like to mention one Chinese leader whom His Holiness dearly admired and respected, the late Liu Xiaobo, the Nobel Peace Laureate, who after years in prison, facing death, he famously said, "I have no enemies." Now this may seem impossible to many, But it is in this impossibility that hope lives. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and many great moral leaders of our time has shown us that violence can never be the answer, because violence begets more violence, and violence can never lead to healing or reconciliation. And like them, His Holiness has shown us that true change comes not from defeating others, but from transforming oneself. Because the true enemy is not the sinner, but ignorance, hatred, delusion within. And hatred may give us strength in the short term, but it will ultimately destroy us. So His Holiness always reminds us to let go of hatred, let go of aggression, let go of the desire for revenge. And this is something, as Rinpoche articulates very aptly, captures some of this essence. And for us, Tibetan people, we know that hatred only breeds more fear, suspicion, and division. And if we carry that forward into our movements, we only reproduce the very violence we seek to overcome. So His Holiness always pushes us to learn how to act with wisdom and compassion, so as to give us inner strength, inner resilience, and moral clarity without any malice and rage. Now, for His Holiness and many of His followers, these are not just ideas, but strategies for survival. Maybe our only hope for a long-lasting, genuine peace. And this era of rising authoritarianism, this may be the only strategy that can save us. So in conclusion, as we celebrate another Tibet Fest, and the organizers have arranged a special exhibition on His Holiness' 90th birthday, and I would really encourage everyone to go visit the exhibition and hopefully inspire us in our own little way to contribute to making this world a more peaceful and a better place. Thank you so much.